The more you sacrifice, the more they expect. Somewhere between duty and devotion, we lose ourselves. You're the dependable one, the fixer, the giver. You stretch yourself, saying yes even when you're tired. You stay silent even when it aches. What started as love or responsibility quietly becomes an expectation, and soon an obligation. You wonder, is this what selflessness looks like? But deep inside, you feel the erosion, not of your worth, but of your visibility, not just for warriors on a battlefield, but for all of us, fighting silent emotional wars in homes, offices, and relationships. This isn't about turning cold. This is about turning inward, karma without chains, when doing becomes draining. You've been taught to give without expectation, but no one told you what to do when your giving becomes the very thing that depletes you. But today, in relationships, in work, in family, your value often gets measured by output. When your kindness turns into currency and your silence into expectation, it's time to ask, am I giving freely or am I trying to earn worth through sacrifice? Karma, in its purest form, isn't servitude. It's sacred contribution, one that shouldn't cost your identity. Shantu, the silent giver's dilemma. Where is your anchor? There's nobility in responsibility, but not when it becomes your entire personality. The verse calls for equanimity, remaining steady, whether you're praised or ignored, needed or forgotten. Most of us aren't drained by giving. We're drained by the loneliness of being unseen, even as we pour from an empty cup. When your value depends on validation, you become a captive to external moods, sacred boundaries. You are not just the roles you play. Who are you when you're not needed? When you're not the solver, the emotional cushion, the dependable one? This verse nudges us to see divinity in all, including ourselves. You're not selfish for stepping back. You're not cruel for choosing peace. The spiritual maturity is not about suppressing emotions, it's about not self-destructing for the comfort of others. Sacred boundaries are not walls, they're pathways back to the self, to a place where love is not an obligation, but a choice. 4. Detached yet devoted. The quiet power of inner freedom. You're allowed to care deeply and still not base your existence on how much others need you. This verse speaks to true detachment, not as a denial of emotion, but as liberation from the compulsion to prove your worth through suffering. When you stop doing things to feel valid, when you're no longer afraid of being less needed, you discover a quiet strength. It's not about withdrawing from love, it's about withdrawing from patterns that consume you. You don't need to bleed to be meaningful. 5. Burnout isn't devotion. Giving without wanting to be saved. This verse reveals the essence of desireless action, not lovelessness, but liberation. Often, the giver seeks nothing but peace, but beneath that selflessness, there's sometimes a buried hope. Maybe if I keep giving, they'll finally see me. This is where the burnout begins. When you're performing service to earn dignity that should have been yours unconditionally. When we give without emotional transaction, when we offer from a place of wholeness, we avoid emotional residue. That is when giving heals rather than harms. 6. Choosing withdrawal, rest as a sacred act. Not every retreat is an escape. Some are revolutions in disguise. Sometimes rest is the most spiritual thing you can do. The moment you realize you're not the eternal well everyone can draw from endlessly. When you no longer rush to fix, to respond, to absorb, you aren't abandoning others. You're reclaiming yourself. This verse teaches that the enlightened one doesn't act from ego, nor carry guilt for doing what's needed. You don't have to explain your peace. You just have to protect it. You are not meant to disappear in your giving. Sometimes, kindness stops feeling sacred and starts feeling heavy. You give, you overextend, you stay quiet, and slowly, your silence becomes expected. The more you give, the more people forget. It costs you something. But you should not disappear in the name of duty. You have to act with awareness, not attachment. This isn't just about action, it's about balance. Don't tie your worth to being needed. Don't confuse detachment with coldness. It's protection. It's clarity. So yes, give, but not at the cost of yourself. Boundaries aren't betrayal. Rest isn't rebellion. Your dharma isn't to keep shrinking so others feel whole. True peace begins when you stop sacrificing quietly and start choosing consciously. Thanks for watching.